NeoCon talk series. These talks are 20-minute conversations on a range of topics, and welcome to day 2. Thank you to our sponsors for Formica, 9 to 5 Seating, Dauphin, Garden on the Wall, and Via Seating. Also behind us, we have Beatrix Pastries and Coffee, so if you guys need to refuel, you can do that. And we are at the very last talk of our series for this year. We are going to be having a conversation on AI 2.0, What You Need to Know, moderated by Matthew Negron with Mark Schwamel. Welcome, Mark and Matthew.
Thank you for having us. So my name is Matthew Negron, president of Dauphin. So today I'm here with Mark. Really excited about this interview. We definitely had some great conversations beforehand, but I'm going to let Mark introduce himself.
Yeah, hi. Thank you to Work Magazine, of course, and Matthew. This is exciting, and all the sponsors appreciate this. And just, my name is Mark Schwamel, FAIA. I run our downtown office for Ware Malcomb Architects, and excited to be here. We did this last year, so this is why it's the 2.0 version, but we're excited to continue the conversation.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. And we're going to do about 15 minutes of just conversations and talk, but afterwards, we're going to be asking you guys some Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, keep that in mind, kind of hold on to it. And this is the last one, so we might have a few extra minutes to go over for sure. So the first question, Mark, that I prepared is, what tools are Ware Malcomb using around AI right now?
Yeah, great question. We've advanced so much even from last year when I shared this talk about what we were doing. It's always good, though, just to level set kind of where AI is in the spectrum. I have a slide up here. You can find this on the internet. It's nothing too amazing, but it's more about like where we're going. Right now we're in this deep learning stage, right? So a lot of it's kind of vision conceptual work. I'm sure you're all familiar with it if you're using AI at your own practice or personally. What's next is really, really exciting when you start thinking about quantum learning. So obviously we're kind of in this super learning stage of computer power. Imagine that, times 1,000, right? So more, you can just do so much more. And then, after that, it's probably going to go into extended reality, which, video games are kind of testing out. But you can imagine in our world, in design and architecture, what that could really look like with 2D, 3D, and then 5D, 7D, right? Where does that go? Super exciting. And then after that, obviously, it's brain to machine learning, where our brains are actually connected to the computers. So whatever we're thinking, there's an output right behind it. Kind of scary, but also, how do we leverage that? It's really exciting. So at Ware Malcomb, click the slide here. I just want to share this. We're about 700 designers and architects in 28 offices in North and South America. So we just did a survey not too long ago, how many people are actually using AI and what are the programs you're using. Shockingly, more than 25% of our firm is using AI in some capacity, whether it's ChatGPT or even Midjourney are probably the two most popular. But you can see some of the other programs that everyone's using, which is really exciting. It's really design and inspiration right now. I'm sure that's probably where everyone else is getting their AI kind of, power and brain trust from. We're using it a lot as inspiration, for either pitches or pitch decks or presentations. This is where we're saving a ton of time, really just conceptualizing something. But there's an asterisk to this, which we'll talk about in a little bit down the road. And then, here's a great example. We needed a new lobby desk, right? So the top images are what we put into AI in the prompts, and then actually started modeling something that was close to it, in very close to it, based off the client's feedback on those Midjourney images. So there's a lot of powerful ways to use this in simple, fast methods. The biggest one, though, we're using it for, really based off clients requesting challenges that they're having, is computer vision. And it's exactly what it sounds. It's like using imagery to create a set of parameters that will drive outputs and solutions. So client came to us with all these challenges that you can see. I'm not going to read them all. we said this is what computer vision can do as an output. In this case, it was a retail banking company. They're struggling with sending architects out, doing surveys with engineers, and it taking weeks to get the information back and get an analysis report of is that real estate a feasible option to move forward with. Well, we can turn this around now in 24 hours just based off basic iPhone photographs that get sent through parameters that we've created and can tell the client if it's a feasible site. So we've already, the ROI to the client is we've leveraged this and it's more efficient. What would have taken very long, we can do in 24 hours. And the output's actually more efficient than, unfortunately, with human error. We miss something, you don't see it, where if the parameter's already built, it's not going to get missed in the report. So it's very exciting to see where this is all going in the future. So this is some examples of what we're doing at Ware Malcomb.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that. We appreciate it. So something that we were talking about before this all came together was, Ware Malcomb's a big company, but there's also these smaller A&D companies out there, and there's also solopreneurs. So one of my questions that I had from Mark was essentially, how can small firms and companies and solopreneurs leverage AI today?
Yeah, simple programs we are looking at every day that I think is a quick barrier to entry if you haven't done any AI. Of course, Midjourney and Firefly, we were just talking earlier about. Firefly is really great if you just say, I want a concept that's tropical, neoclassic, mid-century design, and Firefly will give you tons of images that kind of give you that character design. What's great is if you already have Adobe Suite, those images now are protected and you can actually use them. Midjourney, you got to be very careful. You don't technically own those, so you can't really tell a client that we've created these and they're yours and ours, because they're not. So those are some of the things you got to be careful of. If you really want to start advancing, Layout is another great tool. Very promising software because it really generates floor plans very quickly and starts moving program around for you and gives you tons of options of what that could look like. That's a very exciting one. Hypar is like a BIM to text. Any Revit users, you're going to love this because you can just talk a prompt and it's going to spit out a design in Revit for you as a model. So that one I think is going to be probably a lot of what our future is going to look like. TestFit's really interesting too because that really uses geotechnical data and topography and flood mapping. So it really helps you create something that normally would take tons of time researching a site. This kind of allows you to just put your building into it and gives you then options of what that could look like based on those parameters. Cubic is a great program, but very scary for designers because that's a test fit tool. And literally on their site, I have to read this, it says, generate plans and test fits and 3D virtual tools without expertise or architectural knowledge. Yeah, what's that say for us? Thank you. However, they're marketing this to real estate and brokers, and they're kind of cutting us all out. So while it's a great tool, and they do market to architects and designers, I'm not trying to dog them, but they're allowing other folks to come in and get this information and circumvent kind of what our expertise. So that's probably what we all have to start protecting a little bit around AI going forward. And then I did want to share another kind of story at Ware Malcomb. Based off that survey, we've also just had a competition internally to say, show us what you can do in AI. And then, had some winners involved, and we had a ton of entries, which is really cool. So this is a quick way, maybe if you have a small firm, you can just test the talent out, see what they know about AI, and do a little study or competition. You can see some of the winners we selected too, which is really cool. So easy way to maybe get into AI.
So that's a great segue into the next question. Is essentially, as a smaller company or a solopreneur, you can leverage AI to kind of punch above your weight class a little bit. But now, if you're a bigger company and you're leveraging AI and they're using it, why should we not fear that we're going to lose our jobs? Because that is a little bit scary, and you just said they're cutting out architects and designers and the expertise. So where does that leave us now?
Yeah, it's a yes, but question. This is a really cool video. It's too long to play today, but it's like 15 minutes long. And they actually did a study, a bunch of architects versus AI programs. And their conclusion was, yeah, we're probably going to get replaced someday by AI because they could just do everything so much faster. However, when you watch the end of the video, the solutions had to be checked because AI is still not going to put the door the right way you want it, or all the ADA code that's local jurisdiction. You just can't trust AI and just send that out and assume it's done. So, but if you're in a siloed role, like I said, if all you do is test fit and space planning, I'd probably start learning some other skill set pretty quickly. I'm not going to lie, because that's probably you're going to see some of our jobs going away to AI just because the machine can do it so much faster and give you so many more options than you can do on your own. But the other thing about this too, I said this earlier to a colleague. I said, the best part is we all have clients. Clients have money. Ideally, if they're doing a project with you and they need to pay you, I don't think they want to pay a computer $5 million to do a project. They want face-to-face interaction. They still want somebody, even if you're doing it all in AI, to really analyze that and still produce a solution that they feel their money's they're getting their money's worth. So I think we're still okay for a very long time. Yeah, if that makes sense.
So before we jump to our next question, you had mentioned if you're doing one task, one thing over and over, probably should diversify your skill set. Any recommendations on how to round out your skill set and be a little bit more overarching in a firm?
Yeah, I think don't be afraid of AI. I think that's the simple response. I'm fairly seasoned in the profession, and I've used Midjourney and all these other programs. I'm in them. And I'm not in Revit or AutoCAD anymore, so it's not a. I think it's easy to get into it, and then I think when you realize how you can leverage it in your own firm or practice, embrace it.
Thank you. So my next question deals around legal implications, because you could be creating contracts. It could also, like you said, you don't own the work for Midjourney. Like, what legal implications can you run into, and what is Ware Malcomb kind of doing to protect themselves?
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate as a large firm to have in-house counsel, so we've had to get our arms around this when you have so many people using it, not only to protect our employees but to protect the firm, right? So there's definitely risks. I put a couple up here. You have to be careful what you're sharing out, most importantly. And if you're not familiar, there truly was a Supreme Court ruling that taking a piece of art, Goldsmith did this portrait of Prince, and then he kind of silkscreened it by Andy Warhol, and they deemed this not appropriate for commercial use. And he did this all in some AI program. So it's real. You don't want to get sued. I know I don't. I know none of my colleagues do either. You have to protect yourself on what you're doing and be transparent with the client. When we're doing it, we say we've created these AI images for inspiration only. We can't use them. You can't use them. We would build from here and go forward. So it's definitely a risk you got to be careful of. And then our in-house team even did this crazy matrix, right? Of stop, go. The Monopoly game of when to use AI. When to ask questions, and when it's allowed or not allowed. So I'd offer the same if you're working with your employees or in-house to understand it. Oh, it's okay to adopt it, but make sure you have some checks and balances in place as you move through these programs. Perfect.
Believe it or not, we're already at 15 minutes, which is perfect timing. So these are the 5 minutes left for some Q&A and discussions. Is there anything you want to ask the crowd first before we just kind of open it up and raise hands?
Yeah, I'd love to know who is using AI. If you're using any of these programs, how you're using them. Are you getting a lot out of it? And if you want to share, that'd be great.
Can we get a show of hands of who's using AI here? So about 50%, more or less.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Does anyone? I think we have a mic. Kate, yes. Does anyone want to share how they're using it in a creative way? Or is everyone kind of using it the same way we presented today? A little bit of that? Yeah? Okay.
Any questions that you guys have for Mark? Any concerns? Any Again, we've covered kind of legal implications. We've covered ways to leverage it from a small to a large firm.
We got one over here.
There we go.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Ty with ZPDA. We're architecture and interiors here in Chicago. And you raised my eyebrows when you said they can do space planning and floor planning. And then you said you still have to check it for code and compliance. Do you think that AI is going to, do you think the programs are actually going to get smart to code through the iterative process and are going to start learning what would be code compliant?
Yeah, I think they will. If you've worked with any programmer, it's really the script you can write. So you could grab the Chicago code and spell it all out into the program, and then technically AI will check against that and give you warnings. And we are sort of using that for ADA today because it's very scriptive, right? So I do think eventually we'll be there. I think you could take a test fit or a floor plan and run it through an AI program, and it'll probably do a code check for you, which, you know what, I would be for that. Again, I still think you got to check it afterward. You can't just assume the AI program did it for you, just like anything. But I don't think that's a horrible thing. If it creates safer places and your clients feel safer because it's been kind of validated multiple times, why not? I think that's a good thing. Great question.
Thank you.
We got another question over there.
The development of these tools is really great, and it will increase productivity. But how is this going to be addressed with people who do not have the assets or funding or whatever they need to be able to use these tools, such as someone who doesn't have access to technology?
Yeah, it's like anything. When Autodesk started, it was really expensive. Now it's come down. So, I mean, I think Midjourney is like $10 a month. I mean, in all honesty, it's not bad. So I think a lot of the programs have already right-sized for the market. I really, all the tools I shared, maybe except for the Autodesk ones, are are not that pricey, ironically. I think it's finding the right tool for what you're doing or what you need to do. I will say this, I didn't really expand upon it. Autodesk University 2 or 3 years ago, who can guess what the major topic was? Anyone guess? I know I'm going to blow your minds away. 3D printing. Who's doing that anymore, right? Because AI has now dominated even Autodesk and where they're going, because it's an outdated technology, unfortunately, that fast, right? So, and buying a 3D printer was very expensive, and setting that up, and we're still doing it, but the AI is just so quick and easy. I think it'll be approachable for everybody, honestly. I don't think it'll be a cost issue. It'll be more finding the right tool that works for you. I honestly was trying to find, I'm still looking if anyone knows a really good tool. Or I know our guy, Justin, who runs our digital transformation team, is building this tool. If you started, we've all done an architecture project, design project, you have a site, right? And I remember in school spending weeks and weeks to study the zoning, land use, topography, et cetera. He's building an internal tool for our team so that stuff can happen in 7 minutes. And you get a full map report that you really can use to decide where you want to start your design and how to do it. I'm all for that. That's a great tool. So things like that are going to be extremely helpful as designers as we kind of move and help make more critical decisions faster, and I think that's the goal.
Hey, I'm an interior architect out of DC doing corporate interiors, and clearly from what you've said, you use AI and try to use AI a lot. I'd love to know, well, as you were saying about right now, that 7 minutes of being able to understand the zoning, land, and all of it, which would say take us 24 hours or the whole workday, and it made your work so much more efficient and completely would change the way that you think or approach a problem now. So in an optimistic scenario, with how much AI you're using, and say a year down the line, if we have an AI 3.0, what do you think would, or are you saying would be changed in the workflow of the way we design right now? How do you see it progressing? And if there are other skills you think that we should be starting to add on from now so that it helps us, say, a year or 2 years from now? Because it has been going up, like the acceleration of AI is at a crazy rate. So yeah, what do you have for that, if anything?
Yeah, doing a little research more on other programs, I can tell you it's if you type in AI programs, there's probably 1,000 people in Silicon Valley programmers trying to build the next program. So it's insane. Good or bad, I don't know where it's going to go. That's a tough question of where these AI programs are really going to go. I'm sure some are going to progress and be better. The best ones I've found are usually based off of plugins for Rhino or any of the 3D programs, SketchUp, which are great because those are really, really valuable. So again, it's just about shortening the time and research it generally would take us and being more efficient in our process. So again, it's just like anything. They're just tools, right? You can't count on it. I wouldn't start a design presentation 8 hours before it's due thinking AI is going to get you through it, right? You still got to prep and get in there and have a. And I always say this too to our team. You still have to have a concept. You still have to have a vision to tell the AI what you want back. So if you skip that step, then I think really you're not really using it the right way. So there'll always be a place for all of us as critical thinkers, right, and designers. It's just, I think, again, it's just about getting to an end result quicker to allow us to do the other things we really want to do or really want to focus on in the design process, if that makes sense.
You have another question?
Yeah.
With this efficiency that you might attain in the future or are already attaining in some ways, is it helping in any way with the billability, profitability on a project at all?
No, that's a great question. I wouldn't say we've changed that yet. We probably need to. We haven't. I don't want our clients to know this, right? We can do it faster. Because then they're going to go like, well, I'm not going to pay you for programming if you guys are going to use an AI program and give me test fits in 2 minutes, right? So I don't know. I think that has a long way to go yet on where it's how that plays out. But again, there's such a. It's great. Like if you play with these tools, you're going to get hundreds of test fits. But somebody's got to take all those test fits and analyze them and say maybe some of this is great and some of this is great and put it all back together. So again, it's not a one for one where it's like you can truly skip a design step. I have not seen that yet. I don't think you can go from concept to construction drawings, right? So if that happens, then this will be a whole different talk. I hope that doesn't happen. I will say the biggest fear I have, which I didn't bring up, is really mentoring. Because if you think you can come into the profession and then all these AI tools are available to you, you're truly not learning how to detail. You're truly not learning how to test fit because you're just using these programs all the time. There's a little bit of fear there. I mean, that's probably my biggest fear because now, again, you're not doing any critical thinking. You're relying on the AI programs to do it for you. So that's probably got some time to play out, too.
And I promise just one last theme that came to my mind today after looking at NeoCon and like the whole Metropolis magazine sustainability thing up there. Have you come across anything with AI and sustainability anywhere?
Yeah, no, Cove Tool. Show of hands who knows Cove Tool. It's heavy on the architecture side, but you can literally love those guys. They put a program together where you put your building on a site and it'll give you every sustainability data point. If the orientation's right, and then it'll actually help you solve for it. And our firm's starting to use it too, and I know a lot of bigger firms use it. That's a great tool for sustainability, definitely around building more building mass and architecture design. I'm sure there's more out there around even interiors. I know there's some around materiality already that are starting to tell you, hey, if I put this whole palette together, what's my sustainability score? Those are already coming out. I've seen a couple on that too. So they're already out, which again I think is a very positive way to equip. We did a sustainability report on a project not too long ago. And it took us 2 weeks to analyze every finish we put in there. And I was like, we need to find an AI program to do this a lot faster because it was a good use of time, but not really either, right? It's like the finishes were already done. There had to be another way to do that faster. So if you know of one, let me know.
Thank you.
So we'll keep the issue of profitability and billable hours, a bit of a secret right now, and not share that with everybody. Does anybody else have any other burning questions before we wrap up? Okay.
So something that's holding us back right now is, we're generating AI images for inspiration, but we're not at the point yet where we really want to show that to a client. Yeah. So how are clients receiving these AI generated images? Because we want to go through it, make sure it's realistic to an extent, because an architect's eye is going to be able to zoom in and go oh, that's going to fall over, or something like that. So how are you developing these things or editing to,
No, I love the question. I don't. If you keep going to AI talks, people have brought this up. It's like they've done mid-journey images, and then they zoom in on something. You're like, what the hell is that? I mean, you really have to be careful. So when you use them, you do have to look at them because you're going to get some weird stuff, and you may have to quickly Photoshop that out, which is crazy, but it is going to happen. We've used them on pitches a lot, but again, we're very transparent to the client. We're saying and I think it's well received. They look at it as we're very resourceful, and it's a good way to say, we hopefully can do this quicker and faster to get to the vision faster, right? But in the end, they're still not final. I think they set you on a path, but you really gotta, it's like 30%, but you gotta finish it off. So I agree with you. It's about being transparent, but also the more prompts you can give it, you can get really close to a lot of things you want. So that is exciting, and it's you don't need an intern doing renderings for a solid 3 weeks. So I think there's a lot of positives about it, which is great, but you still got to take that vision and complete it.
One more question.
I just have a comment. You had made a mention of where all these tools help us go faster, quicker. Have we passed on those?
Dawn's
things?
with Ware Malcomb.
Thank you.
FAIA.
This isn't a plant, but it's just kind of a pitch for all the architects and designers in the room. I think one more thing, Mark, should mention, or we should have talked about is, I know you kind of threw away the comment about Midjourney's $10, but a lot of these programs and processes, we're investing a lot of dollars into the software, hardware to do it. So when clients do come back and challenge, that only took you 30 minutes. Well, they're not looking at all of the back Justins that we have at our studio that are building these programs, that we're paying for the software, paying for the hardware to go to. So that's a good answer to your clients.
Yeah, that's a great response.
Well, I say it's kind of like when you pay a plumber, a few $100s come to your house, they fix it in 5 minutes, but you're paying them for all the hours that they learned and all the issues that they solved before. So perfect. We do appreciate everybody coming here today. Thank you so much, Mark. Can we please give him a round of applause? He was fantastic. And thank you, Katie, for organizing everything. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you so much, Matthew and Mark. All right, everybody. We've made it to the end of our NeoCon Talk series for 2024. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have a full recap on every single conversation from yesterday and today, as well as all the video recordings on workdesign.com, so you guys can check those out. Again, thank you for joining us. Thank you to our sponsors, Formica, 9 to 5 Seating, Dauphin, Garden on the Wall, and Via Seating. And we hope you guys enjoy the rest of your NeoCon experience.